A zombie ant is an ant that has become infected by a parasitic fungus called Ophiocordyceps. The fungus takes over the ant's body, hijacking its brain and forcing it to act in ways completely out of its control. Picture this: the ant is going about its usual day, foraging for food, when suddenly, it starts to behave strangely. It leaves its colony, climbing up a tall plant or tree. Once there, the ant bites down on a leaf and remains locked in place, waiting to die. What's going on here? The fungus is controlling the ant's mind. Much like in The Last of Us, where humans are infected by a similar fungus, Ophiocordyceps takes control of the ant's body, turning it into a walking, climbing zombie, whose only purpose is to help the fungus spread. But it gets even more interesting. Once the ant has reached a perfect spot, usually high above the ground, where the wind can carry the fungal spores, the fungus grows out of the ant's body, often through its head, releasing spores into the air. These spores will eventually land on other ants, infecting them, and repeating the process. It's like a sinister version of viral marketing, but in the insect world. This is where it gets fascinating, and a little creepy. The fungus first infects the ant by attaching spores to its body. The spores penetrate the ant's exoskeleton and begin to grow inside, spreading through the ant's tissues. Once the fungus has taken hold, it starts releasing chemicals that affect the ant's central nervous system, specifically targeting its brain. Think of it like a hacker gaining control of a computer. Once the fungus has accessed the ant's operating system, it can command the ant to leave its colony and move to a high place. Scientists aren't entirely sure how the fungus pulls off this trick, but it's believed that the chemicals it releases manipulate the ant's muscles and nerves, essentially forcing it to act against its will. Now, if this sounds like the plot of a horror movie, it's no coincidence. In fact, the creators of the Last of Us video game series used this very fungus as inspiration for the cordyceps outbreak that turns humans into zombie-like creatures. You might wonder why the fungus makes the ant climb to a high spot. The answer lies in survival and reproduction. For the fungus, the goal is to spread its spores as far as possible. By forcing the ant to climb, it ensures that once the ant dies, the fungal spores will be released from a high point where they can be carried by the wind to infect other ants. It's a brilliant, if morbid, survival strategy. Once the ant reaches its final destination and dies, the fungus begins to grow out of its body. This process can take a few days, and during that time, the ant's body serves as a base for the fungus to release new spores into the environment. It's a slow, calculated death that benefits only the fungus. Here's a fun fact. Scientists have discovered that Ophiocordyceps is incredibly selective. It only infects certain species of ants, and in some cases, specific colonies. This selective infection process ensures that the fungus maximizes its chances of survival. It's natural to wonder, especially if you're a fan of horror movies or video games, like The Last of Us, whether something like this could ever happen to humans. The short answer is no, not in the same way. While fungi like Ophiocordyceps are highly effective at infecting insects, humans are far too complex for this kind of direct fungal takeover. That being said, fungi do pose a threat to humans in different ways. For example, fungal infections like athlete's foot, or even more serious conditions, like aspergillosis. A lung infection can be harmful, but they don't have the mind-controlling capabilities of Ophiocordyceps. However, the idea of a fungus controlling a human mind is a powerful one, which is why it's such a popular theme in fiction. From The Last of Us to countless zombie movies, the thought of losing control of our own bodies is something that resonates deeply with people. While the zombie ant phenomenon is terrifying, it's also an incredible example of nature's balance. Fungi play a crucial role in ecosystems. In fact, fungi are some of the most important decomposers on Earth, breaking down dead plants and animals and returning nutrients to the soil. Without fungi, life on Earth would look very different. Fungi like Ophiocordyceps also help control insect populations. By infecting and killing ants, they keep colonies from growing too large and overwhelming their environment. It's a grim job, but an essential one for maintaining balance in nature. Here's something you might not know. While some fungi are deadly to insects, others could hold the key to saving human lives. In fact, the antibiotic penicillin comes from a fungus. Since its discovery, penicillin has saved millions of lives by killing harmful bacteria. Fungi are incredibly diverse, and scientists are still discovering new species and potential uses. Some researchers are even looking into using fungi to clean up environmental disasters, like oil spills, a process called mycoremediation. So while Ophiocordyceps is out there, turning ants into zombies, other fungi are helping to heal the world. Now, let's bring this back to the modern internet world. You've probably seen memes about getting mind controlled by my phone, or the idea that social media algorithms hack our brains to keep us scrolling. While this is obviously an exaggeration, it's not a bad metaphor for what happens to zombie ants. Just like how the fungus takes over the ant's mind, our phones and social media platforms have a way of controlling our attention. It's funny how something so natural like a fungus infecting an ant can feel so relatable in today's tech-driven world. And remember the viral Among Us memes where everyone's trying to figure out who the imposter is? The zombie ant phenomenon is like nature's own version of an imposter, with the fungus secretly controlling the ant's behavior, while the rest of the colony remains unaware. It's a real-life sus moment. The zombie ant phenomenon is one of the most mind-blowing examples of nature's complexity, from the fungus's ability to control an ant's brain to the strategic way it spreads its spores. This is a clear reminder that nature is full of surprises, some of them more terrifying than others. While it's easy to get caught up in the horror of the situation, there's also something beautiful about the way nature balances itself out. Fungi like Ophiocordyceps may be deadly, but they're also essential to maintaining the ecosystem. Without them, ant populations could grow out of control, disrupting the delicate balance of life in the jungle. So the next time you see an ant crawling by, just remember, it might be on a mission for something much bigger and much creepier than itself.